Everything we do in life, we do for progress. No matter what we do, whether we learn how to ski, or try dance and conquer mountains, or start our own business. We want to reach our goals because we are human, and all humans need progress to feel important and to find meaning. But how do you chase your dreams without breaking along the way? I want to share a lesson-filled story with you about two remarkable people. They had the same goal, but they took very different paths to reach it. One of them achieved what they wanted, while the other broke along the way. Let's find out why. In 1911, Amundsen and Scott set out to do the impossible, to reach the South Pole, the most hostile, unforgiving environment on Earth. They began almost at the same time. Both were intelligent, both were brave, both had teams, resources, and a plan. But only one returned alive. Why? Because although they were both leaders, they used different strategies that had nothing to do with talent, strength, or even experience. It had everything to do with three fundamental steps that I will discuss with you after this story. Scott was a visionary, an idealist, a romantic leader. He believed in human spirit, in heroism, in pushing limits. He brought experimental motor sledges, imported ponies, complex equipment. When conditions were good, he pushed his men to the limit. When conditions were bad, they stayed in tents waiting for things to improve. His progress was emotional, reactive, and inconsistent. Amundsen was different, almost boring in comparison. He set one simple rule. Every day, no matter what, they would move about 15-20 miles. No more on good days, not less on bad days. Just steady, predictable, disciplined. He used sled dogs, simple tools, proven methods learned from indigenous Arctic communities. He placed extra supply depots, extra markets, extra safety margins. He assumed everything would go wrong and planned as if it would. While Scott chased glory, Amundsen chased consistency. And that is why Amundsen reached the South Pole first and returned safely with his entire team. Scott and his men reached the South Pole later and died on the way back, only 11 miles from a supply depot. 11 miles with no strength left, no margin, no buffer. Why did Amundsen make it while Scott broke along the way? Let's look at Amundsen and his success as if he were the leader not just of a group of enthusiasts, but the CEO of a company. And his team, they were his staff, his employees. As a leader, he made correct steps to reach his goal. First, empirical creativity and leveraging proven methods. Amundsen didn't gamble on flashy innovations. He studied what had been tried and tested. Sled dogs, Eskimo clothing, survival knowledge, and adopted those proven methods. Scott versus Amundsen was driven by ambition and emotion, chasing untested machines and flashy ideas. The takeaway from that: use what actually works, not unproven ideas. Second, consistent, disciplined progress. Amundsen and his team covered only up to 20 miles every day. Even though they could have gone further, Amundsen knew it was better to conserve the team's energy and not increase the daily distance, even if the weather was good. But in bad weather, the team was still required to cover the same 20 miles, no matter what. Unlike Amundsen, Scott overworked his team in good weather and stalled in storms. Ambition and pride left his men exhausted and exposed. The takeaway from that: set margins for your actions. It's better to do a little every day than a lot at once, only to burn out and end up in a cul-de-sac. Third, productive paranoia. Amundsen prepared for worst case, built buffers and safety nets. He stocked far more supplies, backups and safety measures than strictly needed. For example, he set multiple supply depots, multiple markers, extra food, fuel, multiple redundancies. He assumed things will go around and planned accordingly. Scott assumed things would go according to plan and ran out of buffers. When storms, heat or exhaustion set in, there were no extra supplies or safety nets to rely on, and his team suffered the consequences. The takeaway from that: success is really about being lucky or taking risks. It's about preparing for the worst, building buffers and creating safety nets. Those who assume things will go around and plan accordingly are the ones who survive and succeed. What does this story have to do with your life, your career, your business? When in business we say no margins, no buffer, that means that you have started something without clear strategy or financial planning. I can say that in small startup this can work. I accept that first steps can be successful only by luck, on pure enthusiasm. But when you are building a sustainable long-term business, you have to keep in mind that tough times can come. And you need to be ready for them, both mentally and financially. In life, it's like learning how to ski. You wouldn't just go straight to the black diamond slope. First, you learn to go down the blue slope, and then you carefully think about whether you are ready for the black. So you don't break anything and can get home safe and sound. You wouldn't risk your health, right? Besides, it's perfectly enjoyable to cruise down the blue slope. Meanwhile, tackling the black slope takes years of preparation and endurance. Success is not about emotional bursts of motivation. It's about consistent, controlled progress, even when you don't feel like it. The biggest takeaway from this story about Amundsen and Scott is that consistency and meticulous, rigorous preparation are far more effective than untested technologies, recklessness and pride.